Sex in the City is trending right now on both TikTok and YouTube. A lot of people are recapping it with completely different outlooks than people like me, the first generation that watched it when it aired on television like 20 years ago or something. I was a teenager watching Sex in the City, and, you know, I kind of took facets of all the different girls and found a way to apply that to myself, not realizing what a toxic, shitty individual Carrie Bradshaw is. I think we can all agree that the internet has decided that Carrie's the villain of her own story. She's a shit friend, she's a pick-me, she's constantly changing herself for men that are no good for her, and then when she meets a guy that's actually good for her, she fucks it up. I have a completely different theory on Mr. Big. Everyone is doing their videos talking about how Carrie was never the one for him, and there are theories running around that she was the side chick while he was with Natasha the entire time. Now, that is an interesting theory. And having had my own Mr. Big experience in my life, I would agree with some people that she was not meant to end up with him at the end. But she did. And we all know how that played out.
Hey, Carrie. You mind calling 911? I'm not feeling so good. No, Carrie? You're not gonna call 911? You just have a staring contest while I die? Don't pull out your phone and call for help or anything. Just roll around in the shower with him. That's how you help someone having a heart attack.
I'm honestly more concerned about her shoes getting ruined than saving Big's life at this point. He's still alive. He's still breathing. Not too late yet. Oh, okay. I guess we're just gonna give up and let him die then. I can see his chest still moving.
But the point I'm trying to make is if you take everything that Mr. Big said to her at face value throughout the program, he's not actually that bad of a guy. Aside from the whole cheating on his wife and harassing Carrie into having an affair with him while she was with Aiden, that all aside, she's the one who's always broken up with him, from what I gather. I'm doing a rewatch right now, and I'm going to be keeping my eye open. And I've even asked my husband, what do you think of this man? What do you think? If you take it at face value, is she overthinking things? Is she the one causing the problems? Or is it him? Is she really not the one? Is he being greasy and slippery? So, we'll find out. But while I'm doing my rewatch, I noticed that Season 2, Episode 2, was probably the most frustrating episode to get through. And I've seen video analysis talking about how Susan Sharon was abused by her husband and how dark it was. And watching this episode myself, I had some thoughts. This woman was ridiculously annoying. Charlotte gets this dog. It's supposed to replace a man in her life, but what does she do with the dog? She leaves it alone in her fancy apartment all day? You can't do that with a dog. Any dog, if you leave them unattended, with nothing to play with, they need to go for walks multiple times a day. They need toys, they need interaction, and they need to be very strictly trained when they're young so they know how to behave. She didn't do jack shit with this dog. She bought it, she left it alone in her apartment, and then she wondered why she came home and her place is all shit up and her shit's all destroyed and her shoes and her bags are all getting chewed up. Any dog will do that. If you just leave them, neglect them, you don't train them. So then she gives the dog away to this ridiculously annoying woman and her verbally whatever husband. And what kind of life is that dog going to have there when he chews up some shoes or shits all over the nice apartment? That dog's going to get beat. I had a lot of thoughts about that. Don't buy a dog if you're not going to take care of it properly. You don't buy a dog and not train it. Do you give birth to a baby and then just leave it in the crib all day? It'll take care of itself? That was some poor writing. Let's get into it. Season 2, Episode 2 of Sex and the City was claimed to be one of the darkest episodes centering around domestic abuse, and my take on it is a little different.
What did I tell you about listening to my CDs? You put Natalie Imbruglia back, and you too!
I mean, I just turned to my husband and laughed when we were watching this together because it's ridiculous to get that angry about some CDs. However, if she does this all the time, perhaps that's why he's lost his lid.
Oh, wow! The place looks fantastic!
So she initially is shushing Carrie to be quiet because she knows he's sleeping. He probably has to get up for work in the morning. And Carrie's not a very good guest, is she?
Susan Sharon and her husband had one of those very adult apartments that made me feel like I was about 16, visiting the home of a friend whose parents thought I was a bad influence.
And how do you think this very adult apartment is afforded, Carrie? Through hard work and routine, most likely.
Italian cashmere and light as a feather. God, I love it! It's a cashmere. $900. $900 for a scarf? No! Oh, no. Listen, do you mind if I return it? I could really use the cash. No, why not?
So your friend gets you this very expensive cashmere scarf and you disrespect the gift enough to admit to her face that you want to take it back and exchange it for the money that you would happily spend on a pair of shoes without a second thought, let me point out. So even though they both knew that they needed to be quiet because he was in bed sleeping, they're not checking their volume and inevitably wake him up. So the husband comes out and has a frickin' man tantrum. And no, it wasn't couth and it wasn't very gentlemanly. However, it's clear that a rule and a boundary was expressed prior.
What the hell's going on?
Oh, sorry, honey, but Carrie had this idea about returning.
What? Was that agreement? About visitors after 9 p.m.?
Judging by her guilty face, this is an incident that has happened before. And they have agreed to this boundary, which she is disrespecting.
I know, it's just that it's her birthday.
I'm on London time! I gotta be up in 3 hours when the market's open!
And instead of having empathy for her sleep-deprived working husband, she initially disrespects him by telling Carrie to ignore him in his own home.
So I'd really appreciate it if you take the fucking noise somewhere else!
Okay, sweetie, I'm gonna give you a cookie. Okay, you know what? Just ignore him. You don't have to.
I've actually been Carrie in this situation once before in my life. The only way to handle it is to apologize and get the hell out.
Good night, Cubby.
But instead, Carrie makes her smart-ass grumpy remark at the cranky bear poking him in his own home.
Good night, Cubby.
Yeah.
Good night, Cubby. Good night, Cubby.
The fuck out of my house!
Taunting.
So yeah, I mean, that was not very gentlemanly and it was completely unnecessary. However, the disrespect that was shown to this man in his own home that he most likely pays the majority for.
I'm so embarrassed. No, don't be. He's just tired and cranky. That was classic Richard. Tyrannical, emotionally abusive. I don't know what to do anymore. Well, maybe there were special circumstances tonight, but he's sleep deprived, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a shit.
She just admitted that she doesn't give a shit that he needs to sleep, he's exhausted, and that he needs to get up in the morning. Furthermore, she's having this conversation right next to the bedroom while the door is open. The level of stupidity or audacity, I can't even figure out. There's how many other places in the apartment she could have had this conversation, but instead she needs to have it right there where he can hear it? I think this woman's just stupid, to be quite honest with you.
Fed up with lonely mornings, cuddle-free nights, and the lack of unconditional love she so longed for, Charlotte decided to take matters into her own hands.
See, it looks like someone had this dog trained at some point because it was sitting nicely waiting for
Until she
her
found
on the
perfect
bed.
man, Charlotte would have the perfect dog. Tonight, I took Susan Sharon to meet the new male in Charlotte's life. True to form, he was already falling far short of her high expectations. We did it a minute ago. He was inconsistent.
But this begins to devolve over time. Look at her trying to train the dog now. She's doing a terrible job.
Dog, not an oracle.
So next we get Carrie, who received some roses from Mr.Big on her birthday. And like typical Carrie fashion, she sits there and ruminates and pesters her friends on the meaning.
What do you think it means? It means rip up the card. And watch out for the thorns. No, Henry, no, not the purse. You know, I really don't need this on my birthday. Really, what does this mean? The ball's in my court or something? You want to play games? This is not the grand gesture, this is the vague gesture, which is truly worse than no gesture at all. You know, I think the guy's being thoughtful, he's actually being very selfish. I agree, he's muddy the water. Oh, you're all just cuckoo. Messing with flowers on her birthday, no condemning. Henry, no, damn it, for Christ's sake, give that dog a break. He's already eaten 4 pairs of shoes, I just don't want him staring on the purses. Damn it now. Okay, we're gonna go home. You said you wanted to get out and socialize, but you just have to learn how to bathe. Bye.
So I'm going to ignore Charlotte failing with her dog in a restaurant and point out that Miranda has always given Carrie the best advice regarding what she needs to do with Big. The advice that she needs to hear. The advice that your real friend will give you. And she always chooses to ignore her. I would be so fed up and exhausted with her if I was her friend. If I was either Charlotte, Miranda, or Samantha. She neglects all of their advice and just uses them as sounding board. And it's one thing to do that once in a while, but when it's consistent, it's like, it's just too much. We've all had that friend, and you just gotta stop giving them advice and let them make their own mistakes at some point.
I had just invited my ex and his date to my birthday party. As if getting older wasn't traumatic.
Carrie is such a drama queen about everything. Moving on to Miranda, her boyfriend wanted dirty talk so badly, and she was really uncomfortable with it. Ice cream. But when she says the wrong thing,
Excuse me?
You just love a finger.
ice cream.
Oh.
He's over it.
How was I supposed to know that you love a finger?
Ice cream.
The one thing you can't say to a man in bed. Trust me, that's not the only thing. But it's true. He enjoys it. So do a lot of men. Well, no, they enjoy it. They just don't want it brought to their attention.
How many men have whispered in your ear that they want to put their thing into your ice cream and it makes you uncomfortable, but you have to pretend that it was okay?
Any moment, Big was just gonna walk right in here with his gorgeous date, smile at me like some distant stranger, and say something absolutely crushing like,
Carrie's confused because she puts this man on a pedestal, but at the same time has the worst expectations of him.
Happy birthday, baby.
hey, glad you could make it.
Can't stay long. Left my candle out. Oh, Carrie, you remember Jack, right?
Jack is your date?
She's all confused about mixed signals because she assumed he was going to bring some hot date to her birthday. What kind of audacity that would have been. But he just brought his miserable friend along. And she doesn't take note of the fact that he did show up. He did come to her birthday. Men don't do things that they don't want to do. They'll come up with an excuse, or they'll give you a half-winded, lame, feeble attempt that's just annoying and you wish they didn't bother in the first place. He showed an interest in her. And he came, and she's always got to find a way to pick everything apart like it's so confusing and there's so many mixed signals. So I'm playing this game where I just take everything Big says and does at face value.
You tried the baba ganoush? It is to die for.
I don't eat baba ganoush.
You don't know what you're missing.
I can't
Read the room, Susan, Sharon. He's not in the mood. And Baba Ganoush has a smell to it. She's talking awful close to him without considering what her breath might smell like. Just saying.
I mean, it's not like every relationship doesn't have its ups and downs, you know? It's just that my husband and I, we work very hard, and we probably
Pretty
don't
sure I
spend
didn't ask, but sure, tell me
compounded
more,
by the fact that
bitch.
neither of us gets enough sleep, you know, but then again, who does? Just that I really never imagined myself as a divorcee, you know? But I do think it's more important to till your own soil.
I'm not even in bad mood right now, and this woman's non-stop, incessant chatter is getting on my last nerve. He said he was in a bad mood. He expressed he was in a bad mood.
Greener pastures.
Do you ever shut the fuck up?
In that moment, Susan Sharon suddenly realized how much she desperately
So
missed
it
her
was
husband.
said in a different review that it's sad that she was settling for her abusive husband because of the abusive unknown. But it worked out in the end because Charlotte gave away the dog and it seemed to patch everything up in their
Found
marriage.
myself alone on the street with Mr. Big.
This whole scene really annoyed me because Mr. Big is here with her. Remember, she's the one who broke up with him in the season finale of season 1. And he showed up to her birthday. He's smiling. He's clearly showing an interest in her. And she lets him go on his own. And if she wasn't over him, why didn't she just fucking tell him?
As I watched him go, I realized the one thing I couldn't say to Mr. Big was, I'm still not over you.
See, this drama was completely solvable had you just given him a hug and told him that you made a mistake and that you still had feelings. You could have been in the car going back with him right now, working things out. But we have to go through 6 seasons of drama to get there. Thank you so much for tuning in to my Sex and the City recap. Let me know in the comment section if you enjoyed this and if I should continue doing it while I rewatch that show on my spare time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell for my uploads, and hit the like button. Take care. Bye-bye. Peace out.